We've got a submission here from Mr. Murder19.75, who is moved on to 4S. Welcome to 4S. Yeah, you're not going back to 3S. I'm not going to cut it once you get a taste of 4S. Let's take a look at your tune. I did check your configuration. You're using LuxFloat, and here are your numbers. Let's have a look. We'll start by going to gyros, as usual. Looks pretty good. Yaw is a little bit thick. You may have a little bit of noise on yaw. It's probably not a deal breaker, but definitely noticeable. You get a little bit of extra vibration on yaw. That may be a tuning thing. It may be a mechanical thing. Hard to say. On roll, I'm looking at your P term first of all. It looks reasonably active. If we look at where your throttle goes up, it starts to get active, and I'm just looking through the whole file looking for like the most active it is. So here we've got, it's not a flip or a roll, maybe it's a slow roll, and it becomes quite active, but no oscillation. These regular surges here I like. That suggests to me that you're getting close to the right P gain. Those are not oscillations, mind you. Oscillations would be roughly equal on both sides of the axis. These surges like this, though. Also notice that these surges have these little wiggly jigglies in them here, right? Whereas oscillations would be more sort of hard sine waves. If we keep looking, here you're doing I think it's probably the same move again. We get some surging here. It's a little sloppy here. That's okay. Here we go again. Got some more surging as you do another move. So what we're seeing here is that the P term is relatively docile during some parts, but then when it becomes active, it sort of wakes up. And that's good. We don't see any times when it's actually what I would call oscillating. It feels to me like if you wanted to sharpen up the response a little bit, you could bring roll P up. It feels to me like roll D is about right. We never see D really. We don't see D much larger than P most of the time. We do see that when P becomes very active, see here's a case where P is getting active but D is not flipping out. Here's a case where things are getting a little crazy. But even still, look at the magnitude of P and notice that D is still, it's not flipping out, it's not going green. This is a place where I would say that D is kind of flipping out. But it's not regular, it's not happening too often. So I would leave the D gain alone. You could raise P a little bit if you wanted to. And no comment on I, because I is really hard to tune, especially without video, but even with video, it's pretty tricky to tune. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just look at the most active places where P gets on pitch. So here's some surging right here. Fine. Nothing going on here really. Little bit of surging here. Good. At a higher throttle. Docile. Docile here. But even when P is docile, you see, we're still starting to see some of these surges going on. But at times like this, there's really nothing. It's kind of just coasting along. It's not really doing much. See, so this is a little more docile. If it was like this all the time, I would say definitely raise it. But we see that sometimes the P term is like this, but a lot of the time it starts to wake up and become more active. So again, I feel like P gain on pitch can go up. I would be more, here we go, now it's working, now you're doing something. I would be more assertive about that than on roll. I think I would advise that it goes up a little on pitch, whereas on roll I think it's more just a matter of taste. D on pitch looks pretty low. Like right here, times like this, you can see it's just sort of creeping along, has almost no magnitude. And there's quite a lot of times when it's like that. Here, it gets more active. So I think I might bring D up on pitch as well, but not until I was sure that I had P dialed in. And don't bring it up by much, just a hair, because D can really get out of control if you're not careful. Let's take a look at yaw next. So there's no D on yaw really, and that's fine. Yaw usually doesn't need it very much. And your P term, yeah, P on yaw can be hard to tune depending on how your copter is operating mechanically, like how much vibration there is in your motors and your props. This is a little more active. The size of the spikes, right? The thickness of the spikes, the difference between here and here, you follow, and here and here. That's more than I would probably prefer. I would prefer that it be, well, I prefer it be like this, but it seldom is. You know, somewhere in between those two. But probably you're not getting any negative effects due to it, even though the gyro line looks a little thick. So I would probably leave that alone, leave your yaw axis alone. So there you go. Bump up P on roll just like at most maybe 0.1 or maybe 0.15 or 0.2. But leave it alone if you like how it's flying. And then on pitch, probably I would say bump up P by 0.1 or 0.2 and see how that flies. Hope that's helpful. Happy flying.